Well, welcome back to the run-up on PlusTvAfrica. Ahead of the weekend's governorship and House of Assembly elections, a federal high court in Lagos has granted an order mandating the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and all the presiding officers of polling units to electronically transfer or transmit the results of the polling units direct to the collation system. The court also ordered the electoral body to use the bimodal voter accreditation system, that's the BVAS, to upload a scanned copy of the EC8A to INEC result viewing portal immediately after the completion of all the polling units voting and results procedures. The court, presided over by Justice Peter Lifu, also ordered INEC to paste the publication of result poster EC60E of each polling unit conspicuously after completing the EC8A result sheet of the March 11 governorship election in Lagos State. The matter has been adjourned till March 7th for the hearing of the substantive suit. Well, joining us to discuss this is Dr. Hassan, a legal practitioner, and Evans Ufeli, who is also a constitutional lawyer. You're welcome, Evans. Hello, Evans.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Have we been joined by Dr. please? Okay, Dr. will soon join us in the course of the program. Well, PDP has gone to court to maintain the status quo. Give us your take on this.
Well,
the Labour Party, I beg your pardon.
That is the order that has just been given, right?
Yes.
Now, the court has made this order to reactivate the provision of Section 60 of the Electoral Act. Okay? Mm-hmm. Section 60, subsection 5, which says that after election, after counting, that the result should be transmitted to the INEC server based on what the INEC chairman decides, that is, based on what he prescribes. The Electoral Act did not talk about the fact that you must transmit directly, but the regulation that INEC made, the regulation that INEC came up with to enforce its own act, says in Section 30 that immediately after counting, the results should be scanned by the beavers and uploaded straight to INEC server. INEC in the past election, that is the one that was conducted, the presidential election, did not do that. And because they did not do that, people had to resort to court to ensure that there's a court order mandating INEC to do that forthwith. Because what INEC is doing now is actually contrary to its own regulation. It set its regulation aside by uploading the results after so many days after conducting the elections. So the court order is appropriate. It is appropriate because it did not even go outside the law. The court order has reaffirmed the provisions already provided by the Electoral Act and the INEC regulation, and that is what it should be. Because of the mischief that INEC have concocted in the February 25th election, there is a need to have a court order to mandate INEC to act as prescribed by law. Now, if INEC go against that court order on the 11th, it means that INEC will be in contempt of court, in which case its chairman and the affected commissioners or INEC rep in the state will have to face the contempt proceedings in which they will be committed to prison. So it is good that we have the order of court pending. We have the order of court to that effect, mandating them to do so. Okay, and this will send a signal of seriousness to them.
Yeah, just before you made your last statement, I was going to ask you, is there any difference between the consequences that this would have on INEC now compared to the consequences INEC should suffer from the 25th February failure to do as their guidelines had stipulated?
There's a difference. Okay. Now there's a court order. When there's a court order, if you flout it, that is contempt of court. The first one that they disregard the provisions of the law, that is just a breach of the section of the Electoral Act and the guideline of INEC, a breach of which can be enforced too, it's enforceable too, but it's not enforceable. The provision says that you have penalty, but the penalty is not as severe as a penalty that will come by virtue of contempt of court. Okay, so I mean the penalty is inscribed there in the law, and the penalty for contempt is also grievous. So there is a difference, even though the penalty specified already is hard enough for anyone who refuses to act according to the provisions of the Electoral Act. But where you now have a subsisting court order, and that subsisting court order is breached, then the penalty will double. And that is why this order is very imperative, because the lack of the respect of the provisions of the Act already is costing us a lot of conflict already, because now we now have litigation. Almost all the parties, the major parties that conducted the presidential election are already warming up to go to court to ask that the court nullify the election on the basis of that action. So INEC must be responsible enough to know that if the March 11th election is not uploaded instantly after counting from the polling unit, there will be severe consequences. And these consequences will stem out from a violation of a subsisting court order. And once we are not talking about disobeying the orders of court, then it will come with the consequences of contempt, what contempt means in the true sense of it.
All right. I'm sure at this point Adebayo would want to add to what we're discussing. Adebayo.
Yes, Maureen, thank you. It's good to be getting your perspectives. Thank you so much for the points that you raised and the clarifications that you gave. I was just wondering, if you look at the presidential elections and the process, we saw a situation in which the chairman of INEC, in clarifying, in setting the ground rules, had said that the polling unit results will go to the local government collation center, from the local government collation center to the state collation center, and then the chairperson of the state INEC physically carries the results and comes to Abuja to the collation center to make the announcement. And some people wondered why we still had to go through that entire process when there's an electronic means of transmitting results, and when there could have been video link, all the state recs could have just announced the results of the presidential election in each of their states using a video link. Mm-hmm. The reason I say this was because there was so much delay waiting for recs to come to Abuja. Thankfully, this is a governorship election. The results are going to be declared at the state level. But does this court judgment now imply that, first of all, the time span for getting results will be shorter? Because if results are being uploaded directly through Beavers, obviously there should be no going to the local government before getting to the state. They can collate directly and give the total results of the votes scored by each candidate. And the second related question is, what is the implication of this judgment? Because Labour Party was focused on Lagos for this case, if I'm correct. What's the likely implication of that judgment for the conduct of the gubernatorial elections in other states by INEC? you hear me?
Hello, Evans.
I'm not sure,
yeah.
Evans.
Okay. You're talking about the implication of the judgment as it relates to the governorship election for the 11th of March, right?
Yes.
Yes, and also, just so you take both of them together, the possibility that there will be a short period within which results will be announced if BVAS is going to be used. The results of each polling unit now do not need to go to the local government collation centers, but they go straight to the state collation center anyway, because it's the same server.
Well, yeah, the truth is that, let me take the second one first. The truth is that it does not matter how long it takes before the results are announced, as long as the results announced are in correlation with what was uploaded. Because the essence of this upload is the human element and the discrepancies that follow the manual collation processes, where politicians will intercept the recs and the INEC officials on their way through the bottlenecks, the local government collation center to the state collation center, then to the federal and all that. In this case, it does not really matter. What matters is that eventually the results are announced, and that the results so announced must be in correlation with the results that were uploaded by the viewers. Anything short of that would mean that there's malpractice, and it will open up the vistas for litigation. And then the evidence for contestation in court will become very glaring and overwhelming that the results you have either have been mutilated, they have been tampered with. Also, it will be very clear, because you see, the security and the fidelity of the results and the polling unit is sure, because the citizens are there, the party agents are there. So once people cast their votes and they stay back, and the party agents stay back, and they count the results in the presence of everyone, and they announce the results, the fidelity of that result is secured. See, the elections are rigged when they begin to move it from one polling center.
Hello, sorry, Evans. Hello, Evans. Evans, can you hear me? Hello, Evans.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I wonder if you could just take a little break and tell people in your office to just give you just a little break for this interview, because the background noise is becoming unbearable. Could you do that? Perhaps we take a short break so that can be cleared. You're still watching the run-up on PlusTvAfrica. We're having a bit of interactions. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. You're still watching the run-up. We had to take that quick break because, well, being a Monday morning, Evans' office is very active. We needed to make sure that we had some quiet for this interview. But Evans, before we went on that break, you were answering some very cogent questions from Adebayo. You may want to continue from where we stopped. Well, he was talking about the need for the results to correlate and, without discrepancies. Adebayo, that is very key, isn't it? Very crucial. And he was also saying that it doesn't matter how long it took the results to get to the collation center, as long as it tallies with what is being uploaded.
Absolutely. And this was the crux of the problem with the presidential elections, yes, where a number of parties complained that the numbers that their polling agents reported in the situation room was contrary to what was finally uploaded by INEC. Mm-hmm. And I guess the court case that the Labour Party instituted in order to obtain the injunction to compel INEC to upload results from each polling unit by BVAS in Lagos is going to be extremely significant. But Evans was actually going to take the next question I asked him, which was whether this court injunction regarding the conduct of the gubernatorial election in Lagos State could have implications for other states, so could be a precedent. Perhaps when he joins us, he will be able to address that. But I think something interesting is happening, given the way LP has gone about this. So I think Evans, is back. If he probably now can follow through on his submission.
I'm just being informed that we have Evans, and we also have Dotun joining us as well. Hello, Dotun.
Yes, a pleasure to be on your program. Good morning. Sorry for the break of network.
Pleasure to have you. Are you in your car?
Thank you very much.
It does appear you're in your car.
Yes. Just, yes.
We do appreciate the tenacity. Evans,
Yes.
perhaps you should conclude with the questions you were dealing with before we had that break in transmission with you.
I was talking about, he talked about whether this will make any difference or not. The court order.
All right, we're still having a bit of problem. Well, these things happen on live television.
Source.
All right, Mr. Dotun.
In this case, hello, can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, in this case, any violation will not just be restricted to the fact that the INEC, the Electoral Act is violated, or just that the provisions of the INEC directive is violated. It will not be that there's a court order that has been violated. So that is the difference. And then in that case, contempt applies. Okay. And as regards the logistics, how long it will take before they collate, I'm saying that it does not matter how long it takes, as long as they are able to show that the result they upload is in line with the same result that was announced at the polling unit. Because at the polling unit, you actually have fidelity of the result, in the sense that the electors are there in the polling units. The party agents are there at the polling unit. So they will determine the security and protection of that result at the polling unit level. And that is why the INEC direction actually say they should transmit that result at that level. Because anything apart from that, you don't have mutilation, you don't have human elements, okay, violating the process.
Okay, let's go to Dotun. Dotun, we're taking a look at this court injunction that the Labour Party has gotten to compel INEC to maintain status quo when the election is conducted, the governorship election is conducted on Saturday. We're looking at the effect, the whole consequence of it, what it means, the difference between this court injunction and the guidelines, the set guidelines that were used on the 25th of February. Dr. asked some questions. All right, we're also having problems with Dotun's connection. Well, Adebayo.
Yeah, I can hear you.
While our guests try to sort out their connection, you know, one of the things they said, Evans, one of the points he made regarding the party agents is something I would like us to talk about right now. You know, those who are saying that the elections were not rigged would say to you, but your party agents signed. The party agents signed the document before it was read. And then you have cases where some party agents said that they were coerced to sign.
Yes, that's a very pertinent dimension to the problem. I was listening to one of the election observers from Ghana. He was talking about the experiences. He's a politician himself, and he was deputy minister in Ghana. But now, of course, he was part of the ECOWAS observer mission. And he was talking about the role of party agents and relating the experiences his own party had in Ghana, where they never took the function of party agents seriously. And they went into an election that everybody believed they had won. By the time the results were announced, they lost the elections. And then by the time they mobilized their party agents to put together all the results in order for them to go to court, they had a very big problem. Why am I mentioning this? It underscores the importance of the work of party agents, you know, in so many ramifications. And that's why what you have raised is quite pertinent. First of all, you need to have enough party agents to cover the entire polling structure. for that particular election. And secondly, your party agents must not be persons who can be compromised.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the way in which party agents are appointed by our political parties might not even follow any particular, order. It might just be somebody recommending somebody or somebody looking for something for somebody to do. But the job these people are going to do is absolutely very important.
Very critical.
And therefore, yes, so I feel that it's a big lesson for all the political parties to ensure that whoever they are appointing as party agents are persons of integrity. You know, this gentleman, the election observer, when he was talking, he said the lesson they learned from that was that in subsequent elections, they always made sure that all party agents were members of the party and had to undergo a 2-week training before the elections.
You know, one would have thought, Dr. Adebayo, that one would have thought that the parties would have, considering how important the elections are to them, that they would have taken so much care to ensure that their agents are loyal party members. I remember at the polling unit where I cast my vote, I went home and came back to ensure that I witnessed the counting of the votes. All right, but I left afterwards. But before leaving, I made inquiries regarding who the party agents were. I wanted to know if the parties had their various party agents there. And for me, I thought it was given that they would see to it that these results were uploaded and that they were duly signed and that there wouldn't be any problems. I went home happy until later on I learned that, they were having problems with beavers, they were having problems with this. Like, hello. So it is important, and what you said is very, very true.
It is. The gentleman also said that they made sure that each party agent knew the total number of voters for that based on the reports of the Electoral Commission. They knew the number of voters there. And so this background information was part of what should be available to them before they could do their job in each of the polling units. So now we are realizing the critical role that party agents can play. And the fact that they can't just be anyone. Because he said, he observed in some parts of Nigeria, where he was observing the elections, party agents sitting under the tree when elections were going on. You know, that's absolutely ridiculous, since the job for which they were there was to observe the elections and to raise, issues which have to do with protecting the interests of their various political parties. But, let's hope that the judgment that the Labour Party secured will be a contribution to strengthening our democracy, and enhancing the work of party agents and the importance of party agents.
All right. Hello, Doctor. Do we have you back?
Yes.
All right. Please go ahead and answer the questions you were about answering before we had that break in transmission.
Yes, the essence of our democracy is all about participation and planning. The level of our commitment differs. Yes, we are growing as a democracy. Yes, the advent of Labour Party in this year's election was I will term it as a party of necessity that came with the rouse of the pains and the swoop on that wave, without the party itself being grounded with membership, with state structure, with local government structure, with every.
Oh wow!
That did everything that affect our own result and every other thing that is showing up at this period. And we also, prior before now, when INEC published a list of agents of each political party, I don't think Labour was able to present up to 40% of the list of their agents. It shows that there is a need for preparation so that the omission of one's act will not be used as an albatross, as a means of contriving and making the entire process not to write home about. But as a country, we need to actually give our court kudos, because if not for judiciary, a whole lot of things would have gone under the carpet. But we still believe that we shouldn't use the
All right.
of the issues. So we can be able to still bring together inter-party relations. We need to train the citizen. We know how this election came about. A lot of us were still thinking there will be postponement of the election because INEC preparation, the entire scenario that led to the process, there are a lot of preponderance of factors that affected the preparation of this election. But be that as it may, we are where we are now. Then we need to live with it. Then plan ahead of the gubernatorial election as a way forward. All party agents ahead of the gubernatorial election must be well trained, must be well abreast with facts. Then, as a pointer, I always raise it. INEC is here to do the needful when it comes to recruitment of their own staff or their ad hoc staff. INEC has a capacity that will be managing election in a situation whereby.
All right. The network today is just not very friendly. I don't know whether it's because it's a Monday or not, but it is not friendly. Adebayo, let's talk about this governorship election that's coming. It's crucial. Oftentimes you find that during elections, most people...
INEC is used to...
All right, so you find that most people seem to be more concerned about the presidential elections more than they are about the governorship and state of assembly elections. So what has been your observation, Adebayo? Do you see any kind of excitement in the air towards this governorship election and the state houses of assembly elections in any way?
Area where I am, people were disappointed. Some people were, not some, a lot of people were disappointed, and especially young people, and were feeling like there would be no point for them to turn up for the governorship election. But in the last 3-4 days, I've seen a change again. You know, it's like now they feel no, they will go all out as they did for the presidential elections. Maybe this is due to the calls by the Labour Party and the PDP and the other parties, you know, for their supporters not to give up. The race is not yet over, and to show up. And I think that this is the right spirit, because we are going to have all these elections in any case before we can rightfully say we've had general elections. So I think that there's enthusiasm, you know, until election day, of course, before we can say whether the turnout is going to be as much as, you know, what we saw during the presidential elections. But definitely, I think the enthusiasm is back up to where it was before we had the presidential elections. If you allow me, Maureen, I just feel something related to this question because Dotun was talking about INEC. You know, while we said the political parties ought to train their agents properly and prepare the agents properly and have adequate number of agents, Dotun raised the question of INEC itself. You know, he feels INEC itself hasn't done enough to train its own staff, you know, because, and I think reasonably he's correct, because you saw some voters, when they were asking questions of the ad hoc staff, many of them were not getting, you know, correct answers. Why aren't you uploading the results? Why isn't this happening? And the polling agents were the INEC staff were as confused as anyone else. So INEC does need to train. If there's going to be a refresher for its ad hoc staff, it can request that. There's still time. It could be a one-day refresher before the elections of the 11th. And the security agents, this is another important issue, because for instance, yes, the judiciary is there, and everyone would obviously, who has a grievance, will take it there. But the police and other security agents must understand what role they are supposed to play. In situations where ballot boxes were being snatched or polling results, you know, strewn all over the floor, the spokesperson for the Nigerian police headquarters was quoted in a tweet as saying that what did they expect unarmed police officers at the polling booth to do? That statement should not be coming from the police headquarters. The police has statutory roles to perform. And I feel therefore that the police itself needs to do some sort of orientation for all of its officers before the next round of elections. Yeah. When people see police officers at polling booths, they should feel confident enough that there are police officers there and therefore go all out to cast their votes. Not now being scared that regardless of whether there are police officers there or not, they don't feel safe.
Yeah. Yaga Africa, one of the monitors of these elections, gave serious knocks to INEC, because according to them, their observation, their report from what happened, INEC's level of preparedness in terms of training their ad hoc staff just didn't meet their requirements. And talking about the presence of police not stopping anything in terms of violence at those polling units, you are absolutely right. Because, are you telling me that if a policeman doesn't have arms, he cannot do anything but just stand and watch and see a harmless Nigerian being threatened or even being molested or harmed? Because the presence of a uniformed policeman should give me some level of confidence that I have some sort of security wherever I see a policeman around. All right. Well, another thing I want us to talk about is the fact that governors over the years have not shown themselves to be people who are creative. They've not been able to make the states viable, which is, I think, is a major reason why most people do not take governorship elections as seriously as they should, and also that of state houses of assembly. In fact, they are seen as mere appendages to the governors, and which, for me, is a major reason you have widespread poverty at the grassroots levels. Your take on that, Adebayo?
You're right, Maureen, you're absolutely right. You see, there are two levels to this. On the one hand, you have this call for restructuring, fiscal federalism, giving the states more powers. Fine. But on the other hand, even with what is available at the moment, a lot of governors have not performed. A lot of governors are often interested in white elephant projects. They sink billions into those projects, while they should actually be focused on human capital development, making the primary schools good places of learning, the educational system, the primary healthcare system, and so on and so forth. All of these are the responsibility devolving on the states, under the residual list of the Constitution, And if you now look at the quantum of work that is expected of the states, I think we will be we won't be dealing fairly with ourselves if we took governorship elections with levity. I think we citizens really need to understand that governorship elections are as important as the federal elections. Because in reality, which power does the president of Nigeria have? He has powers over defense, foreign policy, coinage of currency, and foreign affairs. Okay? And then, of course, there are some other issues around there which the federal government dispenses largesse. But in reality, the federal government only has powers largely over those four, right? The rest of the powers are either on the concurrent list, where the federal and state governments can both legislate, or exclusively on the residual list, where only the states can legislate. Exactly. But people tend to think if the gutter in front of their house is not flowing, it's the president in Abuja who is responsible. So we need to take seriously the position of governors, and people really need to turn up for the governorship elections and choose the right people.
We really need to choose the right people. Meritocracy should be elevated in this country.